The purpose of this video is to help you decide how to protect birds from hitting your windows. It's based on the Consumer Guide to Window Strike Prevention, which has been widely hailed by experts and local activists. Hi, I'm in my sunroom here where I've installed all of the systems that are approved by the American Bird Conservancy. And what I'm going to do today is to help you to compare them so you can decide which one you want. But let me say to start, you've got to do this on your windows. Only we can prevent these bird deaths hitting our windows in our homes. The government can't do it, the environmentalists can't do it, you and I have to do it. Now, why am I making this video? I'm actually a retired attorney. I worked for Ralph Nader and for lots of environmental groups after that. And so that's where I come from. Now, specifically, I've made this video because I had several strikes at my house and dead birds on my front steps, for instance. So when that happened, I went to work trying to figure out, look, what really works and what doesn't work. And then in our bird club, I started to try to convince others to do it. And in that process, I've installed all of the approved systems a number of times. So I know how hard they are to put up and what the acceptability is for these systems. Now, I want to spend a moment describing the science behind this so you'll understand why these systems exist. Basically, birds do not see windows. They crash into them. They see in a window the reflection of what is behind them. The fact that there is a building surrounding a black space does not alert them to the fact that a window is there. The fact that you've put a hawk sculpture or a decal of a bird on that window does not alert them to the fact that that is a window, and they'll die if they hit it. There's really only two ways to prevent that. One is to put up something that stops them from ever hitting the window. And the second is to make them think that somehow that window is subdivided into spaces that are too small for them to fly through. There's been a lot of research done on this, 30 or 40 years in the United States and the same in Austria. And basically for most birds, if you can divide the window so that it is 4 inches vertically and 2 inches horizontally, birds will not try to fly through it. Now, several of the systems I'm going to show you are 4x2 systems, okay? Now, recently, the American Bird Conservancy is recommending going to a 2-inch by 2-inch system. The reason for that is that hummingbirds will fly through a space 4 inches wide and hit windows. Now, the American Bird Conservancy recommends that now, but it has not withdrawn its recommendations of 4x2 systems. 4x2 systems help with all of the birds, basically, except the little guys like hummingbirds. Now, I've just described what works, and I need to say right off the top what doesn't work. The first instinct of over half of the people who have a window strike, a window collision, is to go out and buy some pretty decals, WindowAlert, Duncraft sell them, and put 4 or 5 of them on a window. That does not work. At the end of this video, I will show you photos of people that have put up those systems, and you'll be able to see in those photos the imprints of birds that hit those windows and died. If there's a decal or 2, even 4 or 6 decals on a window this size, and the bird has decided to fly from the back of my house to the front of my house, it'll just go around those decals. It is not alerted the fact that that is a window because there's a hawk sculpture there or a few decals. Now, what I'm going to do here is try to provide a really fair comparison of the systems. One of the basic questions is, if I put something up, how does it affect my vision out the window? This is a matter of personal taste, really. And so I'm going to show you the systems and let you decide. The other major issues are cost and how long the system will last, how hard it is to put up, and I'll address both of those later. Now, I can only do a little bit of the detail in a video or it will go on far too long. I've published a document called The Consumer's Guide to Window Strike Prevention, and I've got the link on here on this screen, and it'll be all through the video. If you want details, you have to go there. There I rate all the systems on how hard they are to install, how long they take, and also I have do-it-yourself directions for every one of these systems. In that regard, all of the systems can be done on a do-it-yourself basis on a 2x2 standard. Now, in order to have a fair comparison, what I've done is set up 3 windows here, right next to each other. This window is clear. This window will have the window strike, window collision prevention system, and this window will be a screen. In the next section of the video, we're going to show you what it will look like out your window if you install a system. We'll then compare their cost and effectiveness, briefly provide do-it-yourself information, and then having decided what's most important to you, I provide quick advice on what to choose, finally a section on WindowAlert background, and a series of resources if you want to find more information. In the next section, I'm going to be showing you 6 ways to protect the birds from hitting your windows and what they look like as you look out your windows. The first 2 are screen and netting. The next 4 are systems which divide the window in some way to fool the bird, to make the bird think it cannot fly through it. The Okopian Bird Savers uses paracord. Bird Crash Preventer uses monofilament. Feather Friendly uses a 2-inch pattern of very small squares, and white lines are simply white lines drawn down the window. All of these are ABC tested or ABC recommended, and they don't include WindowAlert. Now, I get no remuneration from any of the vendors for this information that I'm giving you. This is the section in which we'll see the systems as we're looking out our windows. All of these systems were designed to minimize the impact on your view out the window. All the photos were taken at about the same time in the afternoon. Clear window to the left, the Okopian Bird Savers in the center, the paracord system, and bird screen is installed to the right. Here's a vendor photo of the Okopian Bird Savers system. It is on a sliding glass door. The next system is the monofilament line Bird Crash Preventer system. It is difficult to photograph at any time of day because it is clear monofilament line. Clear window to the left, Bird Crash Preventer in the center, and screen to the right. In this photograph, I've actually tried to get a close-up so that you could see it, and you'll have to look up in the left-hand corner of it to see it. Here is a photo provided by the vendor looking out over what I think is probably the California countryside. The Feather Friendly system is small squares that are about 1/4 of an inch, and they're applied every 2 inches. Clear to the left, Feather Friendly in the middle, and screen to the right again. This shows the same system installed on my front door. The upper has Feather Friendly and the lower is clear. This is a photo provided by the vendor of the Feather Friendly system. This is the white line system, and as you can see, it's visible but not overly visible, and I've had to Photoshop this just a little bit because I wanted to show, in fact, there were lines. This is a photo of the netting looking out to my back bedroom, and we normally have our blinds down but open, and you're simply not aware that the netting is there at all. More videos of these systems installed in my neighbors' homes. Go to this site and they'll be there for you, along with testimonials by them on how they have experienced the system and whether they've found them effective and acceptable. In this section, we're going to be comparing the cost and the effectiveness of the systems that you have seen. We'll first compare the commercial products and then the do-it-yourself products. The products listed on your left column are all been tested by the American Bird Conservancy. The base cost, which is your second column, is the cost that you would be quoted if you contacted the vendor and said, I need to cover a window 12 feet wide and 54 inches high. Now, I've used this large space because I know that if you try to guess which window the birds are going to hit, you'll guess wrong. I know I did. I thought I had it figured out and have had 2 deaths since then. I could make this number much smaller by saying, oh, just pick this window and do it. But I don't think that's a responsible thing to do. Your second column is your base cost plus a handyman. Some people need a handyman to do the installations. By the way, if you do hire a handyman, these systems are very simple, and there are videos on the web that show you how to do all of the systems so that you can just show them to a handyman. Basically, all the handyman needs is a drill and a screwdriver to do all of these systems. Now, my estimates on how long it took to do these are based on my own experience. I've installed all of these systems multiple times. The next column is the cost per square feet, which I have provided. So if you're actually covering a space 20 feet wide, you can compute that. Of course, you would need to add the handyman cost. Threat factor rating. The American Bird Conservancy has a testing system which you can read about at their site. It's the best system. It's the best option we have now for rating the effectiveness of these systems. Now, all of these systems have been tested by ABC, and their threat factor rating is listed here. You want to be a good golfer, you want a low score, and you want a low score here because it indicates the system was very effective in preventing bird strike collisions. You can see there's quite a difference between the ratings. Now, the American Bird Conservancy cautions that you can't exactly compare these, that on a percentage or so many per 100 basis, but it seems clear to me that if you have a lower rating down in 5, you're going to be more effective than if you have a rating in the 20s. Now, let's put these costs in perspective. If you went out and simply bought mini blinds for windows 12 feet wide, it would cost you $165. If instead of protecting the birds against dying hitting windows, you went out and you bought an oak tree and said, oh, I think this will help the birds and feed them, it would again cost you $165. The most cost-effective investment that you can make to protect birds are 2. One is to keep your cats inside, that costs you nothing, and 2 is to install window strike prevention. In fact, if you're simply adding native plants to your backyard and you're not taking care of those 2 causes of bird deaths, you will have no net gain. A full explanation of why it's essential to install window collision prevention before installing native plants is at this. Let's now turn to a comparison of the cost of the do-it-yourself options. These follow the same order basically as the commercial options did because most of them are clones of the commercial options. There are directions on how to do all of these do-it-yourself options in the consumer guide, the link to which is at the bottom. I have generated these estimates from the ground up. I've created all these systems, fabricated them, and then installed them. So each of these estimates includes, the cost of the paracord or the cost of the fishing line and what it takes to install it and the screws and paint where necessary and so forth. The one option here that is quite different in terms of its fabrication is the 2x2 dot do-it-yourself option. You need to have a paper or cutting machine like a Cricut to do that option. I have added one thing at the bottom, and that is in yellow I've included the estimates for the WindowAlert system. WindowAlert at first sight looks very cheap and easy to use. The problem is that if you're doing a large area, which you should be doing, if you just do one window, it's not going to do much good. And you apply the WindowAlert decals at the spacing recommended by the scientists, it is simply a very expensive option. You'll note that they recommend you use a ultraviolet pen. That is one of their selling features at their site, and that raises the cost by almost $20. There are good do-it-yourself options for all of these systems. They're much cheaper than buying the commercial systems, but they simply take more time. I can't possibly give directions for all of them in this video or go on too long. There are directions for all of them at the website birdfriendlyyards.net/consumer guide. And there are also links to some of the commercial sites that have do-it-yourself directions as well. Now, for those who don't want to read through the consumer guide or the rest of this video and just want the advice based on my experience, here we go. First, don't buy WindowAlert. As normally applied, it's ineffective. If you apply it right, it blocks your window vision almost completely. Most effective is either a screen or a netting. The cheapest system of all is the white line system, but it is hard to install neatly. The most cheap system that is not the white line is the Acopian Bird Savers do-it-yourself option and the monofilament clone. The quickest and easiest to install is the Acopian Velcro or the Acopian Bird Savers clone or the netting do-it-yourself. If you're looking for the option that will have the least impact on your view out the window, it's the Monofilament Systems Bird Crash Preventer. The one that's going to last the longest is the Acopian screw installation. The best for a door, based on what my neighbors want to do, is feather friendly, but I also think the Acopian Bird Savers retractable option, which is in the guide, is a good one. Not visible to visitors, again the retractable option. And if you're not handy at all, you want it real simple, feather friendly or a Cobra. Taking the time to give special attention to the WindowAlert product, which is also sold by Duncraft and others, because over 50% of the people who decide they want to do something to protect birds from windows buy this product. Fundamentally, if you apply it as they recommend, it's ineffective. If you apply it so that it's effective, as the scientists say, it blocks almost all your vision, it's very expensive, and it's just about impossible to install neatly. Now, here are a couple of photos. The photo on the left shows you 3 decals on a window, small window, and look at that bird strike down on the left. The bird just flew around those decals and hit the window. On the right, it shows you what you'd have to do if you want to get the correct scientific spacing. The result of this, of course, is that it's very hard to see out the window. Now, this is not the only photograph that we have. Here is another photograph. This person had a very birdy yard, several feeders and so forth. And you can see on the left where she's put 4 decals. And on the right, every one of those little yellow spots is where a bird has hit that window. My friends, this is a product that simply is ineffective when you install it as they recommend. This shows you how many of these decals you would have to put up if you did a section of the size we've been discussing all the way through this video. You'd have to put up 140 to 180 of these decals in a sunroom. You just can't put them up neatly, and they'd be very expensive. In sum, if you apply it as they recommend, it's ineffective. If you apply it so that they're effective, it blocks your vision, it's very expensive, and nearly impossible to install neatly. The next 3 screens will provide you resources. BirdFriendlyArts.net Protect Birds specializes in helping homeowners and clubs. You can get the consumer guide there, the quick tips that I just showed you, and a good video in which neighbors describe the systems they installed. Some of you will like that video better than the one you just saw. There are 7 tools to help clubs promote collision prevention, and there's a video on how you can install a whole system for a sunroom in 30 minutes. There are also a number of organizations providing good information. Among them is the leading center for the study of collisions at the Acopian Center. Dr. Daniel Clem has a wonderful source of information there. The American Bird Conservancy is the leading membership organization which is focusing on window strike prevention, and they have many different resources. National Audubon has an extensive resource packet which is available to Audison chapters, and there is a good Facebook page called Just Save Birds, where many of us share solutions, questions, and problems, and so forth. Here are the links to the vendors who sell these systems. They're all good systems, and these people are all good to work with, and I hope you will support them. They've gone out on a limb and invested in an activity which really doesn't pay much, except in their satisfaction that they know that they're helping birds.